Hello students and namaste everyone. I am Dhaval sir and our today's topic is from your standard 10th literature part unit number 10, the Sermon at Benares. So this chapter is actually taken from the book named Values and Voices, the college reader by Betty Renshaw. Right, so the introduction about this chapter and the summary of this chapter is already done in the first lecture on this chapter. So this is going to be our second video on this same chapter, and in this chapter we are going to discuss this whole chapter in detail. Okay, that is line by line. I'll read out the chapter and I'll try to explain you the chapter in detail. Okay, so we'll start with the first paragraph, that is Gautam Buddha. Year is given 563 BC to 483 BC. Began life as a prince named Siddhartha Gautam in the northern India. Okay, so Gautam Buddha was a prince, and his name in the childhood was Siddhartha. Okay, at 12 years of age, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures, and 4 years later, he returned home to marry a princess. So, scriptured means what, right? So, it is a book for religious importance, right? Uh, a book in which the importance regarding particular religion is written. For example, if we talk about Christianity, right, then the religious book is Bible. Okay, so in the similar way, different religions have different religious book. Okay, and for the study of that religion, Siddhartha was sent for studies for 4 years, and after he returned, after completing his studies, okay, that is after 4 years, when he reached home, he was married to a princess. Okay, they had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. So befitted royalty means that he lived as a king and queen. Okay, the way the king and queen should live. Okay, at about the age of 24, the prince, heretofore means until this time. Okay, so until the age of 25 years, okay, heretofore shielded, shielded from the sufferings of the world. So shielded means to protect somebody from danger or risk, right? So the prince Siddharth, until the age of 25 years, he was protected from the danger or the risk, okay, and the sorrows and the sufferings of the outside world, right? While out hunting, okay, so sufferings means pain. Okay, and what is given, that out hunting, that means one day he was out. Usually in those days, the king or the prince used to go out for hunting the birds or the animals. Okay, so while out hunting, chanced upon a sick man, right? Chanced upon, to find or meet by chance, to find or meet by chance. So chanced upon a sick man, that means he got a chance to see or find out a sick man. That means he for the very first time saw a sick person, then an aged man, then a funeral procession. Funeral procession means the procession which is usually carried out after the death of a person, and finally a monk begging for alms. Okay, a monk begging for alms. So alms means the money or the food given to the poor person. Okay, so this sight so moved him, that means he was affected so much by this, all the views, right? When he saw all these things, he was so much moved by all these things, that he at once went out into the world to seek enlightenment concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. That means he left all the worldly pleasures. Okay, he sacrificed all the worldly pleasures and he left his home and went out in the world, right, to seek the enlightenment. To seek the enlightenment means to gain high spiritual knowledge. Okay, as he was very much concerned and he wanted to understand that why the sorrows are prevalent in the world, or what are the reasons for the sorrows. Okay, he wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a peepal tree. Wandered means to move from one place to another, from here or there. Okay, so for 7 continuous years, he wandered from one place to another and finally sat down under a peepal tree where he vowed to stay. Vowed means to promise, okay, or to swear. That means he decided, he promised that he will sit over there and spend his remaining life. Okay, until enlightenment came. So, what he promised himself, that until he gets fully knowledge, means until he receives the knowledge, or until he gets enlightenment, he will stay over there and he will do the meditation. Enlightened after 7 years, he renamed the tree the Bodhi tree. Right, so the people tree under which the Gautam Buddha had taken enlightenment was named as the Bodhi tree. Bodhi means the tree of wisdom. Wisdom means knowledge. Okay, and began to teach and to share his new understanding. That means when he gained the knowledge, he started spreading his knowledge to the other people. Okay, at that point, he became known as the Buddha. Buddha means the awakened or the enlightened. The person means the person with a lot of spiritual knowledge. The Buddha preached his first sermon. Sermon means religious or moral talk. So preached means what, right? So preached means prachar prasar, right? So preached means to give a talk on a religious subject. Okay. So what did he do? That means, as I said, he preached his first sermon at the city of Benares, most holy of the dipping places. Dipping places means the people, they go to Banaras, or their river Ganga is there, and they take bathing in that. Okay, on the river Ganges, that is river Ganga. That sermon has been preserved and is given here. So, what sermon, that is what religious talk he gave to the people, is given in this chapter. It reflects the Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. Inscrutable meaning is given, something which cannot be understood. Okay, so it reflects the Buddha's wisdom, that is knowledge about one inscrutable kind of suffering. That is the suffering which is not understood, or which the common person cannot understand. On that, Gautam Buddha has given his own light, or we can say he has given his own knowledge on that. Okay, so here the story begins, right? Uh, that how one lady was there. I've already discussed this, whose name was Kisa Gautami, and his son had died. And how did Gautam Buddha made her realize about the sufferings and the pain in the world? Okay, so we'll read out the story and understand it. Kisa Gautami had an only son. Only son means only one son she was having, and he died. In her grief, she carried the dead child to all her neighbors. Grief means sadness or pain, asking them for medicine, and the people said, she has lost her senses. That means she has gone mad. Okay, the boy is dead. That means the people, they understood that the boy is dead. Then to this lady was moving from one place to another in search of medicine. At length, Kisa Gautami met a man who replied to her request, I cannot give thee medicine for thy child. So, thee means you. So, he is saying, I cannot give you medicine for thee. Thee means your child. But I know a physician who can. And the girl said, pray, tell me, sir, who is it? So she is requesting that, sir, please tell me who is that person. And the man replied, go to Shakyamuni, the Buddha. Okay, so he is informing the lady to go to Gautam Buddha. Kisa Gautami repaired to the Buddha and cried. So, repaired means here it means she went to Gautam Buddha and she started crying. Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy. Okay, so she's saying like that. Then what did Buddha say? The Buddha answered, I want a handful of mustard seed. Mustard seed. Mustard means rye. Okay, so she's saying, I want a handful of mustard seed. And when the girl, in her joy, promised to procure means to get it for Gautam Buddha. So when she heard that Gautam Buddha only wants a handful of mustard, she was very happy and she said, okay, I'll get it for you. Okay. Then, what did Gautam Buddha added? Okay. Further, he added that the mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent, or friend. Okay, so this was the condition before procuring the handful of mustard seed. Okay. So poor Kisa Gautami now went from house to house, and the people pitied her and said, pitied means they felt very sad for her because she was suffering a lot. Okay. So what did the people say? Here is a mustard seed, take it. Okay, the people they saw her condition and they were feeling very pity on her, so they just gave away the mustard seed. But when she asked, did a son or daughter, a father or mother die in your family? They answered her, alas. That means they were very sad to say that yes, even in their families, uh, many people have died. So, what the people replied in this? The living are few, but the dead are many. That means before them, their ancestors, right, their forefathers, sorry. So, their forefathers, that means many people have died and very few are living on the earth. Okay. Do not remind us of our deepest grief. So what these people are saying that please don't remind us of that, because whenever we uh, hear about our closed ones death, we feel very sorrowful, right? We are very sad. Okay. And there was no house, but some beloved one had died in it. That means there was no house left where she had gone and where no one had died. Okay. So Kisa Gautami became weary and hopeless. Weary means very tired. Okay, because from a long time she was moving from one house to another and asking for the mustard seed, and sat down at the wayside, watching the lights of the city as they flickered up. Flickered up means blinking. Uh, it was brightening, then it was suddenly off, again on, off, on, off. That is flickered up and were extinguished again. Okay, so they were, the lights they were shining and again they were off. Okay. At last, the darkness of the night reigned everywhere. So, through this lightning, she could understand that in the similar way, the life of the people is also in such a way where they are born, they will grow and they will die away. Okay, so that is what she understood from this. And when she understood this, uh, the darkness, that means the sadness was spread over her. Okay, so the darkness of the night reigned everywhere. That means there was total darkness everywhere and she was totally sad. And she considered the fate of men, that their lives flicker up and extinguished again. So that I have already explained, that through this incident she understood what actually Gautam Buddha wanted to tell her or teach her. And she thought to herself, how selfish am I in my grief? Death is common to all, yet in this valley of desolation there is a path that leads him to immortality who has surrendered all selfishness. So, valley of desolation means an area which is filled with deep sorrow. So, what she is saying, that death is common to all, yet in this valley of desolation there is a path. That means in this world there is sorrow everywhere, but if we want to come out of that sorrow, there is a path. So what is written? The path that leads him to immortality. Mortality means the person who has taken birth is for sure to die, and immortality means amar. That means we say that God is immortal. That means who never dies. Okay, so she says that the path that leads him to immortality, who has surrendered all selfishness. So in Gujarati we say that if a person has momaya, right, lalach, then selfishness, then that person will suffer a lot. But if we remove all the selfishness, if we remove all the greed from ourselves, then we can become immortal. That means we can become happy forever. The Buddha said, the life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain. So, as I said, mortals means the person who has taken birth on this earth is for sure going to die at any point of time. And in this world, the person who is born has always trouble and pain in his life because of his selfish greed. Okay, so, what is written? For there is not any means by which those that have been born can avoid dying. That means the person who is born is for sure going to die at one point of time or the other. After reaching old age, there is death. Of such a nature are living beings. As ripe fruits are early in danger of falling. Right? Ripe means pakawa. So if the fruit is already ripe, then it will fall first. Okay. So mortals, when born, are always in danger of death, as all earthen vessels made by the potter end in being broken. Okay. So is the life of mortals, both young and adult, both those who are fools and those who are wise, all fall into the power of death. All are subject to death. So it is very clear that means any person who has taken birth on this earth, whether he is a fool or he is a wise person, he is for sure going to die. Of those who overcome by death, okay, of those who overcome by death depart from life, a father cannot save his son, nor kinsmen their uh, relations. Kinsmen means relatives, right? So mark, while relatives are looking on and lamenting, lamenting means to express sorrow deeply, one by one mortals are carried off. That means the people who are alive, they see their relatives or uh, uh, their family members in front of them one by one dying, right, like an ox that is led to the slaughter. So many a times the ox are taken to the slaughterhouse. Slaughter means to uh, kill, right? So in the same way, the people also one by one they keep on dying when their time arrives. So the world is afflicted with. Afflicted means affected by suffering, disease, or pain. So the world is afflicted with death and decay. Therefore, the wise do not grieve, knowing the terms of the world. That means if a person is wise enough, he knows the terms and conditions. That means he knows that a person who is born is for sure going to die, and so he is never worried about his death, and he always remains happy. Okay. Not from weeping, nor from grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. Weeping means crying, grieving means becoming sad. Okay. On the contrary, his pain will be the greater and his body will suffer. That means if we keep on grieving, that means if we will remain sad, we'll keep on crying, then our body will suffer a lot, right? So we should not do that. He will make himself sick and pale, yet the dead are not saved by his lamentation. Right? So, how much sorrow will have, how much pain will have, right? How much crying will we do, but we cannot bring back the person who is dead. Okay? So, he who seeks peace should draw out the arrow of lamentation. That means the person who wants to live a peaceful life without sorrow should never get pain or should never get affected by the death of the person. He should never feel sorrow for the death of the relatives or the near ones, because he understands that this thing at one point of the time or the other is going to happen, and it is not in our hands. Okay, he who seeks peace should draw out the arrow of lamentation and complaint and grief. He who has drawn out of the arrow and has become composed will obtain peace of mind. He who has overcome all sorrow will become free from sorrow and be blessed. That means ultimately, through this paragraph, the writer is trying to say that the person who is wise enough and who has understand the cycle of life and death, and who already know that we all are mortal, and at a point of time we all are going to die, and if we stop grieving, if we stop feeling sad sorrow, and we stop uh, ourselves from sufferings or pain, then only we can become a person who can live a life of peace and happiness. Okay, so that's it about the chapter, and I'll end my explanation of this chapter over here, and I hope so that this chapter is clear to you. Thank you everyone for watching my video.